speaking, that maybe their relationship wasn't as great as some people thought. Looking at how Brady left New England, Peter, do you think that's a fair assumption now?
No, I think actually Brady took the high road in his press conference call or virtual press conference with the Buccaneers, and then on Howard Stern saying that, like, I'm not going to throw this guy under the bus. It wasn't bad. And I'd say this. I look at Willie McGinnis, Ty Law, Richard Seymour, a lot of these guys who are Patriots legends who were on different teams when they hung them up. And, like, I think that this is going to end up being one of those deals where they both knew that it was time to turn the page. Brady, from what I gather, is as happy as can be with Bruce Arians right now. And I think Belichick's going to thrive on the fact that he's got an opportunity to show the rest of the world that maybe he can win without Tom Brady. But I don't think it was ever warm and fuzzy. And I go back to even when they were winning those Super Bowls, I don't think these two guys were ever as kindred spirits as they could think of. Like, to me, I think of Belichick, and his guys are Bruschi and McGinnis and Troy Brown. I don't necessarily see him and Brady going on vacation anytime soon, and they never had to. They had so much success. But yeah, I don't think that there's bad blood there. I just don't think they're ever going to be chummy, and they never were.
Yeah, well said, Straights. I wanted to give people food for thought when I brought that up. Do I feel like the relationship was strong? Yeah, I feel like it was strong. Was it perfect? No, not by any means. And that's every relationship. And speaking of that, I feel like this wasn't a bad celebrity breakup like we see in Hollywood all the time. I think this is more like Cutler and Cavallari. And I feel like, the reason that that's applicable right now is because she posted it. I know she said she would like her privacy, but she put a post out there and told the world that they were getting a divorce. And she said, we just grew apart. And it's okay. It was good while it lasted. And I feel like that's the reason why we can look at Tom Brady and the Patriots and think to ourselves, it was strong. It was great while it lasted. They had an era where they dominated and were the best team in all of football. But they looked at each other at the end of it and said, it was real. Let's go our separate ways and hope for the best from each other. And I feel like that's fine for us to look at those two things differently, just like Cutler and his ex-wife now to be. Kyle, I know you saw that post, man. What do you think about that whole situation?
Yeah, Belichick and Brady, highly successful marriage, beautiful children. It's like Bruce Willis and Demi Moore, which I guess would make Bruce Arians Ashton Kutcher somehow in this. But guys, I always thought that Brady and McDaniels were the bros. Like, I think they were the guys constantly talking and collaborating and being friends. No, Belichick and Brady were not going to give you the Kurt Warner, Dick Vermeil, sobbing, emotional hug, and that's fine. 20 years they lasted. 20 years of Super Bowls and titles. I mean, we've been with Peter for 4 years. He still won't hug us. So, like, let's just understand that it went really well, and it ended when it was supposed to.
Certainly not now, Kyle.
I'll get a hug out of him. So I just go low and get a hug out of him sometimes. Hey, Shriggs, let me ask you this. I feel like for the next 10, 20 years, next couple of decades, we're going to hear nothing but mutual respect and admiration from both sides, from Bill Belichick on Brady, from Brady on Belichick. Is there a way that that's not the case? Is there a way or a world where Belichick is super successful and Brady is not at all? Is there a way that Brady brings his Tampa Bay squad to the NFC Championship and Belichick flounders with Stidham or whoever he ends up having at quarterback there, and they start talking a little bit more about the inner drama? Do you see a world where that's possible?
I can't. Like, I can only see them doing NFL film stuff for the next 30 years, sitting in the same room and laughing about the good times. Because if it was ever going to be toxic, if it was ever going to be ugly, it was going to be on the way Brady left this team, and it hasn't been. They've both taken the high road, and it seems like it's almost omerta is the word they use in the old Godfather movies. Like, there's a trust between the two of them. Let's not do anything negative to the other one because of what we had together.
Kyle?
I'm sorry to have to jump in here, guys, but we can't end this segment without putting a cap on this. I have to go back to the Aaron Rodgers thing and the Jordan Love. And Nate,
that's the right one. Before we get to any football, we've been doing so much goodness in our community, of course. Guys, listen to this. This is important. Draft-a-thon's still going on. Yes, it was over the 3 days. It was a virtual fundraiser, and you got to see all of the biggest stars in the NFL and out of it, guys, like Blake Shelton stopping by, Commissioner Roger Goodell himself. But we're still raising money for that very cause. We are just under $7 million. The NFL throughout the weekend was matching every dollar. So you can still go to NFL.com Rodgers.com/relief and continue to donate. That will be going on until late tomorrow, late Wednesday evening. So please do anything that you can. I think that there's that number that you can still tweet for an automatic donation. Every little bit helps to help those fighting COVID-19. On that note, guys, let's get to the Packers and talk about maybe some drama. Maybe we're overblowing it. But in Green Bay, it sounds like Jordan Love was taken in the first round without consulting Aaron Rodgers. Here's LaFleur talking to our guy, Mike Silver, on the decision. Okay, I got pumped about getting to coach this young quarterback. He has a chance to come here and soak it all in and learn from one of the best QBs. If not the best of all time, he will definitely have a front row seat to greatness. I know people are going to analyze and overanalyze, but Aaron's a consummate pro and terrific teammate, and he's our leader, and I love coaching him. So Ian Rappaport confirmed Rodgers has spoken to Love, but as of right now has not publicly welcomed him to Green Bay. Guys, this is a decision not to include Rodgers in the Jordan Love conversation mean that we should, be concerned a little bit about their relationship in Green Bay? Kyle, Nate?
Yeah, of course. We should be concerned about all of it. We should be concerned about Rodgers' relationship with Green Bay itself. It's killing me. We're a days out now. People are asking me how my quarantine's going. I'm like, it's fine. I can't sleep because of the Jordan Love draft pick. It drives me absolutely crazy. And I remember a few years back, remember when the Colts ran the worst fake punt of all time, and it's been memed, and it's been satirized a million times? I remember Chris Collinsworth was on the call, and he said, what was the plan here? Well, I look at this pick of Jordan Love, and I say, what is the plan here? Let's just say next year Aaron Rodgers plays 16 games, they go to the playoffs, it's fine. And the year after that, same thing. What are they going to do with Jordan Love? What if Rodgers wants to play 4 or 5 more years? This is a first-round quarterback. You have to play him. It doesn't make any sense. Neither do any of the explanations these people are coming up with for what Matt LaFleur and the Packers did. I even heard people say, well, look, it happened to Alex Smith. They drafted Pat Mahomes. Alex Smith is not Aaron Rodgers. It's not even close. Well, they drafted Daniel Jones. Eli Manning is not Aaron Rodgers. And they say, well, Rodgers is really expensive. He's worth it, dummy. Have you ever seen him play? Every kind of avenue of escape from this leads into a brick wall. I don't know how they're going to manage it, and I don't know how they're going to manage their relationship, because if you notice all these cute little tweets from quarterbacks saying, can't wait to get to work, Rodgers hasn't said squat, and I don't blame him.
Yeah, I hear you on that, KB. Yesterday we talked about this, and I mentioned how Russell Wilson was drafted to Seattle when they had Matt Flynn already under contract. But you're right, Matt Flynn isn't Aaron Rodgers either. So I feel you when it comes to breaking down the draft selection and criticizing them, because they could have addressed other positions. I mean, they addressed 2 positions that were their most solid positions, quarterback and running back, with their first 2 picks. But I feel like we shouldn't be concerned, because this is the circle of life. This happens. Rodgers has been through this before. Well, you might want to sit here and say, Kyle, that these other quarterbacks aren't Aaron Rodgers, but Brett Favre was kind of Rodgers before Rodgers. I mean, he was Brett bleeping Favre, and they still drafted Rodgers. And Rodgers had to sit back, relax, and wait his turn. And we criticized all of this, and Brett Favre didn't take lightly to this selection. So I feel like we just got to give it time. When it comes to the circle of life, I feel like Aaron Rodgers needs to take advantage, conquer his jungle while his roar is still loud enough. By that, I mean win a Super Bowl sooner than later. That way, you can keep this young man on the bench. And just like the Lion King movie, the original's always better. And Aaron Rodgers right now is the original. Until we can appreciate what Jordan Love brings to the table, we're still going to cheer and hope that Aaron Rodgers gets to another Super Bowl.
There's been a lot of comparisons to Favre. I'm going to go back even further. 1992, the Denver Broncos had been to 3 different Super Bowls. They had gone in 86, they'd gone in 89, and they had gone in 88. And the Broncos had this team that everyone looked at Elway as a team. 25th overall, the Denver Broncos select, with John Elway in his prime, Tommy Maddox at a UCLA. All right, Tommy Maddox. Elway says the story like this. He says, I was standing at the baggage claim at the airport, and we needed a wideout. I said, oh, Carl Pickens must have been gone. He ended up not going until the second round. Elway then, this is 15 years later, with a laugh, says, how'd that work out? So I'm telling you, this is never going to leave Aaron Rodgers. And Tommy Maddox, of course, never did anything for the Broncos, would go on to the Steelers years later after an XFL career. But, this is going to be a stick in Aaron Rodgers' craw for the rest of his career, however long he wants it to be. It might be for the rest of his life. But what Elway did was block out Tommy Maddox, go and do whatever he needed to get that right situation going, and would go on to win 2 more Super Bowls and get the last laugh. I think if anything is a silver lining in this deal, maybe this inspires Rodgers to just get over the hump and win that NFC Championship game next year, win that Super Bowl, and be able to one to have the last laugh and say, you took Jordan Love while I was still on the roster. But yes, to Kyle and Nate's point, I am still scratching my head. A fascinating draft pick, one that they traded up to get.
And we're looking for answers. Hopefully we will hear from Aaron Rodgers publicly on what he thinks of it. I'm so curious to know whether or not he was blindsided. That's if the question that we asked this morning was, is there concern about the relationship? Yeah, there is concern if they really did not let him know at all that this might be an option to take another quarterback in this draft. Let's just keep being Dr. Phil here and digging into other relationships, shall we? Should we bring up the Patriots and Tom Brady, who's no longer a Patriot, and Bill Belichick, guys? Nate, you kind of brought this up yesterday. And
you went the route of referencing Brett Favre. You, like many people, have done that. We gotta put this to bed. I cannot bend over backwards stressing you how different this situation was. In the season leading up to the Rodgers draft pick for the Packers, Brett Favre was openly reflecting about retirement, and not just to his family and friends, talking to broadcast crews in pre-production meetings like Joe Buck and Chris Collinsworth about, I could see this being the last year. If we win the Super Bowl, this could be it for me. It was fodder for him. So when the Packers get Rodgers at 24, they're like, we got to kind of make a move. Brett might hang it up. There has been zero indication of that from Rodgers, and if anything, the contrary. I get that it's cute and it's the same franchise and it makes us all nostalgic. Please, everybody, the Favre pick and the Rodgers pick are totally, totally different.
Well said by Kyle. What do you guys out there
I'll
think
disagree
at
with
Jim
you on
McPhee
that.
with your
Listen,
thoughts? There's so much more to get to. Oh, go ahead. We got time. Go for it.
No, I just wanted to say that I completely disagree. I was playing during that time, and I remember how the world looked at Brett Favre, and he was one of the best, if not the best. And now you look at Rodgers, he's one of the best, if not the best. The fact that Brett Favre might have been mentioned in retirement, that was coming out of his mouth. Aaron Rodgers has had injuries. You remember the clavicle? You remember him pulling himself up off the ground? He might not have to mention retirement for the organization to look at him and say, well, damn, at 36, 37, he only has a few more years. If we really like Jordan Love, let's go ahead and get him right now so we have a plan and we're not sitting here like the Pittsburgh Steelers shuffling a couple of backup quarterbacks that aren't our future. I feel like this is something that we can compare. I know you want to put it to bed and you're very passionate about it, but I feel like they're two different situations that have a common thread between them.
I respect your opinion.